Hey, this is Lasers, and today I have 10 quick tips to show you that might help make your time in Dwarf Fortress a lot easier. These aren't advanced by any means, but hopefully some of these will be something you didn't know already and will help you out. Enjoy. Tip number 1 is the Designation Tool. If you press I or come down here in the bottom right and click this right here, down here you'll see the designations for Unforbid, Forbid, for Designate for Dumping, Remove from Dumping, Designate for Melting, Remove from Melting, remove hidden designations, and hide an item or building. These are very useful if you need to, say, forbid a bunch of bones. Click on the forbid, drag it right there, forbids all those bones at once. Or if you have a bunch of forbidden items, you want to unforbid them, use the unforbid, and there you go. Same for trash, same for melting. Let's go down here, we can do melt, and let's say we want to melt all my iron bars. Oh, I changed my mind, I don't want to melt all my iron bars. I just unmelt it. Same for hidden. This hides things that you don't want to see. Like, say, over here, I got a bunch of these crates. I don't really need to see them because they're not going anywhere. I click on the hide button, and all those crates right there. And when I exit out of this, and there you go. They are hidden from sight, saves a lot of screen space. The dwarves will still use them. They're still actually there. They still take up physical space, but they're out of your view. So this is really useful for things that you know are going to be there. You just don't want them cluttering up your vision. Or if you need to see something underneath them, this is really useful. This will work for items and buildings. It doesn't work on creatures or anything like that, so keep that in mind. Tip number 2 is how to properly store items in a tavern. The tavern has two main storage needs. You need to have a stockpile if you want to have your dwarves eating, drinking in your tavern. It also needs to have goblets inside of that stockpile. And then the other thing you need is a coffer with goblets. If you have a tavern keeper or performers, they need to have goblets in a coffer in the tavern zone in order to serve drinks. Serving drinks just spreads rumors and gives a little socialization happiness. It's not really important if you don't want to do that. For your stockpile, you definitely want to have prepared foods and drinks, whatever you think they might need there. You also need to store goblets in this. When dwarves are thirsty, they will come and grab a goblet and grab a drink nearby and sit down and drink. If you keep your food and drinks and goblets in a stockpile in your tavern zone, it'll make it a lot easier for your dwarves to access food and drink nearby each other, which will help them socialize, helps them feel happy being around friends and family. Makes things look a lot better too because it looks like everyone's drinking and eating in the tavern. Tip number 3 is how to dig up using a ramp. Whenever you want to dig upwards, it's hard to do. It's a lot easier to dig downwards. The only way you really can dig upwards is by using the ramp option. So let me show you real quick. We go to M for mining, R for ramp going up. And let's see, we want to go up right here. Just dig a ramp right there. Come dig that out. You have a ramp going up. And you can go to the next level, dig a ramp right there. They'll come dig it up. And you got one going to the top. It's obviously a lot easier to dig downwards, but sometimes you do need to dig upwards, and this is a good way to do it. Tip number 4 is an easy way to browse through huge lists. You know, when you're browsing normally, scroll wheel just goes really slow. You can actually scroll by page. If you hold the shift button and scroll down, it'll go down one page at a time, up one page at a time. Makes it really easy to scan through things that are taking up a lot of space, like animals or inventories or your citizens. Tip number 5 is an important thing to keep in mind when you're making stockpiles. If you add refuse to a stockpile, it will start to decay. It is very important when you're making all stockpiles or specific stockpiles of specific things. When you have the refuse enabled, it will start to decay the items that are in there. They will degrade over time and eventually disappear. So if you're wondering why sometimes your all stockpile has armor or weapons and things that are slowly getting broken and you don't know what the heck's going on, that's why. Tip number 6 is that you can block miasma using diagonals. As you can see right here, I have a rotting corpse spewing out miasma every now and then, and the miasma does not spread any further than this block because of the diagonals that the miasma cannot pass through. This is very useful if you have a place where you're butchering a lot of animals, or if you don't really have a good place to dump your rotting stuff. You can put a refuse stockpile or a dumping zone and block it off with diagonals so that the miasma does not spread any further than this right here. Tip number 7 is how you can reset water pressure using diagonals. So as you can see right here, I got this pool of water. It goes down pretty far, so let's scroll down. You can see how far down it goes. Now normally, if I had built a well, like say I built a well on this level just above the very bottom, the water would spew up and go everywhere because the water pressure from up here is pushing down and it pushes the water back up to that level. But if you build diagonals, it resets the water pressure to the level that the diagonal is on. So now the water pressure is on this Z level, and you can see how I got it coming over here from this diagonal. And I go up, I have my well, the water does not shoot up despite the pressure being very high because it goes up pretty far. Tip number 8 is that you can prevent anything from climbing up walls or ceilings and buildings and things by building overhangs or by smoothing the walls. As you can see out here, I have a nice little area built and it goes up. I want to put a ceiling on it so that I can prevent rainfall on a lot of things. But I also wanted to prevent anything from climbing up and around my traps. So what I did, you see I got the walls here, go up a level, and you see how I got this floor overhang on each side of that, and it goes up here, it does the same thing. This prevents anything from climbing up because it goes up to the wall. It can't get over that floor because it can't swing around it, and so it can't climb up. You can also block climbing horizontally or vertically by smoothing the walls if you're underground. I know a lot of times people have safe places in their caverns. They want to make sure it stays secure. You can keep that secure by making sure you're smoothing all the walls so that anything can't climb around any doors or traps that you've built. Tip number 9 is the fact that non-grazing animals do not eat anything at all. They literally do not eat. So things like pigs, turkeys, cats, dogs, lots of birds, and many other animals are safe to keep inside where they're secure because they don't need the grass. Now, a lot of animals up here, it looks like horses, yaks, sheep, ducks. The easiest way to know which animals are grazers and which are not is to go to the wiki and look up animals, and then you can also look up grazing. It'll show you a list of all the grazing animals. Anything that's not a grazing animal does not eat. This does not include things like humanoids, obviously, but it's very useful to know that so you can keep your animals safe. Like I like to keep my pigs inside here along with my turkeys. That way I deal with less predators and stuff even before I've built a enclosed space. And it also helps spread out your animals to keep them nice and happy, because if you stack too many animals together, they get unhappy and they start fighting. Tip number 10 is our last tip, and it's how to engrave floor tiles to massively increase the value of any given room. This is really useful if you want to keep rooms smaller but still increase the value. Normally what you could do easily to increase the value of a room is make it pretty big and then engrave and smooth all the walls around it. And that's a really easy way to increase value, but you can also do this by just building floor tiles and engraving them with a high level engraver. My current engraver for this fort is a high master engraver, so it's pretty up there. You could do this with any level engraver, it just may take a few more floor tiles. The floor tiles I use in these are iron. It's really cheap and easy to get, but it's also a good value. I think it's got a value of 10. You can also use things like gold and platinum. Those are around 30-ish. I don't remember exactly, but iron works perfectly for this, and you'll usually have a lot of iron. As you can see, this person is about to go sleep, and we'll see what quality of room they like. He is blissful after sleeping in a fantastic bedroom. And you can see how small this thing is. It is ridiculously tiny. That's because right here I have a floor tile. As you can see, it was engraved. It's an iron floor tile. This room value is very high for very small space. All because I built a floor tile and engraved it with a really high level engraver. Again, you can do this with low level engravers. You just might need more floor tiles. Floor tiles get their value multiplied by being engraved, especially if the engraving's really good. So you can easily make a royal bedroom as small as you can possibly get if you have a high level engraver using this method. Hopefully these tips were helpful, and if you have any tips or suggestions of your own, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. Take care and have fun playing Dwarf Fortress.